The Pentagon just requested a record-breaking $179 billion just for research and development. This money isn't going to buy new tanks, planes, or missiles. It's to invent what's going to come after those. This is the largest R&D budget in Department of Defense history, and it's an illuminating look into what the Pentagon sees as the future of warfare. This money is being poured into research into drone swarms, hypersonic missiles, battlefield lasers, artificial intelligence, quantum navigation, and whatever else DARPA is cooking up that they're still keeping under wraps. This is more than Russia's entire military budget, which was about $130 billion last year, and is about half of China's total military budget. And yes, that's using the $300+ billion estimate, which includes all their shadowy stuff, and not their official $230 billion budget. This represents the US military going all in on a single bet that whoever builds the future first might not have to fight the wars of the future. So today we're going to break down where a lot of this money is going, what it's meant to build, and what it tells us about how the US expects to fight the next war. This particular budget is for the RDT&E, or Research, Development, Test, and Evaluation budget. It's the money spent to invent new technologies, test them to death, and decide whether they're worth building at scale. If done right, it can even save a ton of money down the line and give the US a huge advantage. Things like the actual internet, GPS, digital photography, and even Apple's Siri can be traced directly back to RDT&E budgets. And yes, Siri was born in a DARPA lab where it was known as the Cognitive Assistant That Learns and Organizes, or CALO. Yeah, it's hard to believe, but at the time it was pretty advanced and could do more than say, I found some web results, I can show them if you ask again from your iPhone. Thanks for nothing, Siri. This $179.5 billion across all branches and agencies is up nearly $10 billion from the FY 2025, and it's over $70 billion higher than FY 2020. It's now a bigger line item than what the Navy and Air Force are planning on spending on new weapons this year, and it's the most aggressive one since the Cold War. Before we get started, we want to thank Odoo for sponsoring today's episode. If you're still managing your business with a mess of spreadsheets, sticky notes, and a patchwork of apps, stop the chaos. Odoo brings it all under one roof with a unified business management system that covers everything from sales to shipping to the shop floor. Odoo gives you full control over inventory and manufacturing from a single dashboard. You can track receipts, deliveries, point of sales orders, and work orders in real time. You'll see exactly what's moving, what's delayed, and what needs attention. You can automate vendor reminders, schedule shipments, scan components with a mobile barcode app, and update worksheets or bills of material on the fly. Whether you're running one warehouse or 10, Odoo keeps your operation fast, accurate, and fully connected. The best part though, everything talks to everything. Sales, e-commerce, CRM, inventory, manufacturing. It's one connected system, not a Frankenstein of bolt-on. So if you're done taping your business together with whatever software you can find, head over to odoo.com. Your first app is free. No trial, no credit card, no nonsense. You've got a business to run, let Odoo make it easier. The largest single chunk of money, $4.7 billion, is going to the Air Force's Long Range Strike Bomber program. Last year, it got just $2.7 billion, and this makes it the largest line item in the entire $179 billion RDT&E budget. That might be hard to believe that the largest item in a nearly $180 billion budget is under $5 billion total, but the DoD funds a whole lot of R&D programs with the hopes that a few will take off. This is the Pentagon's version of spray and pray, but we are funding the ammo. And I guess we're always funding the ammo, no matter who's shooting it, but you get the point. This item in particular is the catch-all line for R&D tied to America's future bomber fleet, which today mostly means one thing: the B-21 Raider. The B-21 is a stealth, long-range, nuclear-capable bomber designed to eventually replace the B-2 and the B-1. It's built to fly deep into contested airspace, carry everything from conventional JDAMs to nuclear weapons, and potentially even deploy autonomous drones or hypersonic missiles down the road. So yeah, the B-2, which just pulled off a record-setting flight to drop the MOP bombs over Iran, already has a replacement. As of 2025, at least 6 B-21 test airframes are already flying. The Air Force is expected to buy at least 100 Raiders at a total program cost that could exceed $200 billion. But this line item is not just for building airframes. This line item will cover things like stealth coding research and development, defensive avionics and jamming systems, weapons integration, logistics and sustainment infrastructure, and early work on NGAD bomber interoperability and man-unmanned teaming, which we'll talk about a little later on. While most of the B-21 program is still shrouded in classification, the size of this line item is a clear signal. The Pentagon is betting big that the next war will require penetrating strike aircraft that can fly long, stay hidden, and hit hard. The timing on this is not subtle. China is rapidly expanding its integrated air defenses and building out missile silos in hardened command sites in Western China. North Korea, Iran, Russia, a lot of other people are all investing heavily in layered defenses and mobility of their air defense systems, especially after seeing how Iran was picked apart so easily. The Operation Midnight Hammer Strikes, where the US flew those B-2s over Iranian airspace without any problems, will only push US adversaries to beef up their defenses because none of them are too thrilled about some bombers taking off from Missouri and dropping massive ordnance on their stuff. While swarming drones and AI-assisted fighters get the buzz, the biggest pile of money for research is still going to big bombers with a human being at the controls. But long-range bombers cannot solve every problem, especially when time or enemy defenses make manned flights too risky. That's where hypersonics come in, and the US is betting $1.2 billion to study the problem this year. Hypersonics, if you've been paying attention, are all the rage these days. Everybody who is anybody has some hypersonics. Even Iran claims they have some. These weapons, though, fly at Mach 5 or greater, and Mach 5 is 3,836 miles per hour, and they even come with maneuverability so that they can get around enemy missile defense systems. These programs include the Army's long-range hypersonic weapon, also known officially as Dark Eagle. It's a land-based system with a range of 2,775 kilometers. The first battery is expected to be operational by 2026. We will have a full video coming out on this weapon system shortly, and maybe even on the Army's HIMARS-compatible hypersonic, known as Blackbeard, which is also being funded with this cash. The Navy's getting a chunk of this too to develop their conventional Prompt Strike, which is a hypersonic boost glide missile. They managed a successful test launch from a ground-based launch cell on May 2nd, and a Zumwalt-class destroyer has already test-fitted the launcher, and Virginia-class subs could carry it by 2028. The Air Force killed off the Troubled Air Launch Rapid Response Weapon, or ARRW, at least for now, because there is some talk about bringing it back. But they're doubling down on the Hypersonic Attack Cruise Missile, which is a next-gen air-launched hypersonic standoff weapon that could be launched from multiple aircraft like the F-35 and potentially even B-52s, because B-52s just don't die. They are eternal, and they will never leave the US arsenal. Okay, so they probably will, but I mean, they've been going strong. Hypersonic weapons are such a major focus because enemy air defenses are becoming more capable, and traditional weapons like boring old cruise missiles like the Tomahawk or aircraft are at increased risk of being shot down. Maneuverable and stupid fast missiles are one way through and around these defenses, at least until they catch up, but then we'll just build harder, better, faster, stronger. Shout out Daft Punk. Speaking of hypersonic defenses, this RDT&E budget is also dedicating $450 million behind defending from hypersonic missiles. And last year, that figure was only $182 million, so you can kind of see where the importance is already. Hypersonics are big, and the US really doesn't have too many solutions for them, so they're going to research it. So to help aircraft make it through enemy defenses, Collaborative Combat Aircraft, or CCA, better known as loyal wingmen, are getting $1.6 billion to research. These loyal wingmen, like the MQ-28 Ghostbat or XQ-58 Valkyrie, which are pretty sweet names, way better than most names for these things, are semi-autonomous drones that fly along F-22s, F-35, or the future F-47 Next Generation Air Dominance Fighter, or NGAD. These loyal wingmen can help conduct electronic warfare, launch missiles, even air-to-air or air-to-ground, or they can conduct ISR with minimal human input. They've even been operated from an Australian E-7 Wedgetail and are being eyed to accompany cargo aircraft, aerial refueling tankers, really any aircraft that don't come with a whole lot of offensive or defensive capabilities, which means they have to stay out of the danger zone or at least bring escort aircraft along to help protect them. This is more than just a drone revolution, it's a shift toward man-machine teaming where AI assists human pilots or commanders or even takes initiative under fire, although when you bring that up, people get pretty worried and it's understandable why. Speaking of that, Skynet is getting a big chunk of money too. Not Skynet exactly, but the Pentagon is budgeting over $1.8 billion for AI and autonomy projects this year. This includes AI-assisted targeting and decision tools under Project Maven and JADC2, drone autonomy for scouting, jamming, and targeting, and predictive maintenance and logistics automation, which isn't very sexy, but hey, logistics and maintenance are important. Project Maven is a particularly interesting program and has been around since 2017, so it's not new, but it's becoming more and more important. In testing, Maven has been used to locate and identify targets using artificial intelligence. In a 2020 exercise called Scarlet Dragon, they had the Maven system identify an enemy tank using satellite imagery and then tag in a HIMARS system to destroy it. This technology reduces the time and manpower it takes to get a positive identification on a target, and in an environment littered with enemy equipment in the air and on the ground, getting PID of a target early can mean life or death. Currently though, a human is still in the kill chain, which, for now, and the robots aren't launching their own missiles or killing people willy-nilly, but let's keep an eye on that one. Elsewhere in the budget is a $275 million line item tied to the Replicator program, which is the DoD's plan to deploy thousands of attritable autonomous systems, in their words, in the next 18 to 24 months. Last year, they spent just $69 million on it, so you can once again see where their heads are at. For the Replicator program, you have to think cheap swarming drones, autonomous maritime vessels, and ground robots that scout, jam, or absorb fire. The goal of them is to overwhelm Chinese defenses with sheer quantity, not complexity, which is something that the United States really loves to do. We love to just buy the most complex friggin' weapons ever, and then we only have like 100 of them. And wouldn't you know it, we need more. But anyways, unlike traditional platforms, these can be built fast, they can be destroyed, and replaced quickly. As Army Major General Brett Sylvia said in 2024 when discussing the Army's shifting focus to unmanned assets, they are looking to trade steel for blood. As of mid-2025 though, none of these systems have been fielded yet, but the DoD insists they're coming, and fast, because they really don't have a choice. So here's the really fun part where we get to talk about the black box projects in the Pentagon's RDT&E budget. And out of the $179 billion set aside, they have $40 billion buried in what's commonly called the black budget. This is not some tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that we're just making up here. This is literally how the Pentagon classifies these things on the budget. In the FY 2026 R1 documents, these appear as special activities, classified programs, or sometimes just blank lines with dollar amounts next to them. And that $40 billion number, that's larger than the entire defense budget of countries like Israel or even Poland. So what's in it? We don't know, and that's the point. But based on historical patterns and congressional briefings, we can make a few educated guesses / wild assertions. So we talked about the B-21, but what comes after the B-21 with next generation stealth platforms like NGAD drones or optionally manned recon aircraft? This could also be for advanced signal intelligence and electronic warfare systems, autonomous undersea vehicles for strategic strike or submarine tracking. It could even be space-based missile defense sensors, possibly even orbital interceptors, like for the Golden Dome, which we've talked about before. It could also be directed energy weapons that aren't ready for public show and tell, and possibly, more than likely, early work on quantum networks, AI-enabled kill chains, or even counter space weapons. Black budgets, as we all know, are not new, and things like the F-117 Nighthawk, the B-2 Spirit, SR-71, and RQ-180 all spent years in the black budget before we even knew they existed. So when you see a line in the budget that just says classified program element with $2 billion next to it, odds are it's not funding a weather balloon. And just like those earlier programs, some of these projects will never see the light of day. They'll be tested, maybe even a few will be built, but they'll be kept in the shadows until the day the Pentagon needs to reveal a new ace up its sleeve. That's the other reason the RDT&E budget is so high. It's not just buying answers, it's buying options for the future, which is pretty important. To make room for all of this R&D spending, the Pentagon did make some sacrifices elsewhere in its trillion-dollar budget. F-35 procurement is being cut again, Abrams upgrades are delayed, Apache buys are down, and lots of other legacy programs have been slashed to the bones or just outright canceled. The message in this is clear that we will fight with what we have, but we're not going to keep funding yesterday's tech at today's prices. Things like manned aircraft, large ships, tanks, armored vehicles, and even infantry weapons are all being reimagined as cheap drones wreak havoc across battlefields. Most of these programs being funded in the RDT&E budget will likely fail or end without anything produced, and a lot of people will call this a complete waste, but that's okay. R&D is supposed to fail most of the time. Knowledge is accrued slowly, and progress occurs incrementally. But, as we've covered before, even failed programs donate parts and pieces to new efforts. Just look at things like the YAL-1 airborne laser that never made it past prototype, but developed tech that was used in the Air Force's SHIELD and Army's DEM SHORAD Strikers. Or take a look at the X-30 National Aerospace plane that never even flew, it was only tested in wind tunnels, but it directly contributed to developing hypersonic technology that we are making operational as we speak. These programs and the countless others included in the 121-page RDT&E budget document tell us a lot about what the Pentagon thinks is important today and will be in the immediate future. The US is not trying to outmatch China tank for tank or destroyer for destroyer, because honestly, we just can't. So instead, they're betting that tech superiority and faster, cheaper, and smarter weapons can offset raw numbers. This is about asymmetric dominance with drones that overwhelm, missiles that can't be intercepted, and AI that processes targets before a human being even sees them. The Pentagon's $179 billion R&D budget isn't just a spending plan, it's a message. It says the US believes the next war will be fought and won in large part thanks to software, sensors, swarming drones, and decisions made at machine speed. This is recognition that what is influencing success on the battlefield today is vastly different from just 10 years ago. Tanks are reduced to burning hulks by cheap drones, GPS is being rendered useless by jammers, and missiles are being shot down by other missiles before they can even reach their target. So we'll naturally keep an eye on this space because this is where the future of warfare is decided, or at least where people think it's going, and it's honestly just really fun to dig into these documents and see where all of our billions of dollars in taxes are going. Anyways, I wrote the script, Savvy edited the video, and I don't have a whole lot else for you but to say thank you again. Thanks to Odoo for sponsoring this episode. Thanks to all of you leaving your comments, sharing the video, hitting that like button, anything really. I really appreciate it. The whole team behind me really appreciates it. And without further ado, I am Kyle, your friendly ginger producer man. You are all dismissed, and I will see you all next time.